Hi everyone, Selena Dautel here, realtor with Coldwell Banker, just back to help you get to know me better. As I've stated in my previous videos, when you call me to represent you, either on the buyer side or the seller side, it is essentially a job interview. So I'm trying to break the ice. Let's get to know each other now. Well, you'll get to know me, I'll get to know you later. So my last video, I did a song because I told you one of my passions was music. And then I'm also trying to walk you through my life just so you can understand who I am and what has happened in my life to make me who I am today. So I have no regrets for anything in my life because I think everything shapes us for who we are today. Well, that's not true. I do have one, and I'll get to that through my stories. But okay, so I last left off and I told you that I grew up in a small town in Kentucky. Actually, two small towns, but I was born in Ashland, Kentucky, and then we moved to a smaller town, Greenham, Kentucky. And then in 1986, my parents moved to Florida. How that all transpired was my aunt and uncle had already lived in Florida. I don't know for how long. I don't remember. And then they came to visit family. They came home to visit family. And I don't recall if that was like in 1986 or the latter part of 85. I just remember shortly thereafter, my dad said, "We're moving to Florida." Because my aunt and uncle was telling him how great everything was here, so many jobs. It was cheap to live here, so on and so forth. So at 12 years old, my parents break the news that we're moving to Florida. So Kentucky's the only place I had ever known. So of course I was devastated. But hindsight's 2020, and I'm so thankful that my parents did move to Florida. Okay, so 1986, summer of 1986, we moved to Florida. I still remember driving into Florida and then like to get from Hillsborough County, which is like Tampa Bay area. Well, I live in Tampa Bay, which is actually Tampa, to get over to Pinellas County, which is what we call the Tampa Bay area, which is like Clearwater. Pinellas County is like Clearwater, St. Pete, Dunedin, Safety Harbor. I know you probably won't. I'm trying to give you towns that you would know. I know a lot of people know Clearwater. We usually just say Clearwater, Florida, because infamous Clearwater Beach. So going across the long bridge called Courtney Campbell Causeway, and all I see is ocean, and just thinking it's the most beautiful thing I'd ever seen, and I still do to this day. No matter where I travel in the world, I see mountains, which again I think are beautiful, but to me there's nothing like the sea. It just makes me feel, I don't know, there's something about the sea and the ocean. It makes me feel closer to God, number one. It makes me feel peace, relax. I just love the ocean. Not that I get a lot of opportunity to go, but I still love it. Um, yeah, and then so I remember that, and then I remember, I mean, this is a long time ago, so bear with me. I don't remember if it was the same day, but I remember us getting to our aunt and uncle's. My uncle was at work, so I think Dad just packed us all back up in the car. We went to McDonald's, bought some French fries, and Dad took us down to Clearwater Beach, and we fed the seagulls. And of course, as a 12-year-old girl who had never been out of her small town in Kentucky, I just thought that was amazing. Now that I've lived here my whole life, yeah, I don't find it amazing, and we do not feed seagulls here. They are aggressive birds. I mean, and probably because of humans, us feeding them. Because now, like, if you visit Florida and you're vacationing and you go on the beach and you want to pull a sandwich out of your cooler, you've got to really fight the seagulls off. They'll swoop right down and take your sandwich right out of your hand. So I am telling you now, don't feed the seagulls when you're here because that's what will happen. You have to hide your food. You can't leave anything out open because they will steal it. Okay, so yeah, so 1986 we moved here. Shortly after moving here, my dad found a job for a condo complex. I'm leaving out names just to protect companies and my family and everything. But my dad did find a job at a condo complex as the head maintenance. He made a decent salary, and part of it was we got to live there for free. So things were going really well. It was only a 2-bedroom condo, so my brother and I had to share. My little brother and I had to share a bedroom. Then my parents got the other bedroom, and my older brother was 17 at the time, so he just crashed wherever. He'd stumble in at night and either fall asleep on the couch or lay on the living room floor or wherever. He didn't care. He was a 17-year-old, teenage boy who stumbled in late. Yeah, we were raised very different, my brother and I. I'm like the youngest in our set of friends, and so like when we talk about our childhoods, like I guess it was very common, like for the older generation to raise their sons and daughters differently. Like when my brother did something, like when my dad found out he was 15 and sleeping with a 31-year-old, just for an example, he was like, "That's my boy." Me, on the other hand, I was his daughter, and he was I wasn't allowed to date. I had to be in at dusk. If I was out past dark, it had to be with my older brother. Living in the condo complex, it was full of teenagers. We made tons of friends when we first moved there. And having my dad as the head maintenance man, and everyone knew that was a benefit as well. But we, like, I remember all of us were going to go to a movie one night. And I asked my dad, I was allowed to go because my brother was going. And so, I don't know, a couple hours before we were all going to go, I came home and I took a shower and was doing my makeup and hair. And my dad's like, "Where are you going?" And I said, "To the movies. I asked you if I could go to movies." And he's like, "Well, you're not going now." I guess because I was doing my hair and makeup or whatever. But so I wasn't allowed to go. But now as an adult, I am actually thankful that my parents raised me the way they raised me. I think because of that, I have a very healthy respect for certain things. I think you can connect the dots. I won't go into that too much. Okay, so yeah, so in my previous video, I told you I had a great childhood, moved to Florida, things were going well. We had a great summer because we moved down here the summer of 1986. I was 12 years old, was turning 13 later that year. Yeah, and things were still great. I had started middle school here, 8th grade, Morgan Fitzgerald. That was a little of a culture shock. In Kentucky, elementary went through K through 8, and then high school was 9 through 12, and then and in elementary, what we considered elementary school, K through 8, there was not class changes. I think in 6th grade, yeah, 6th grade, I think I changed class one time for science, I believe. And that was it. So moving to Florida and starting Morgan Fitzgerald Middle School, I had 8 classes, 8 different teachers. And that was just such a culture shock. But it was well. It went well. I made tons of friends. Not once we started school, in addition to what we had made living in the condo complex. And the reason I think it helped, it was because I talked like this. I had a really heavy Kentucky accent, which I can pick up pretty quick because of, I still have family that lives there. When I go back, I can hear it coming back. But then when we get back to Florida, my accent goes away. But, so in middle school, everyone would be like, say something. And I'd be like, "What do you want me to say?" And they, so because of the accent, I guess they had never heard anything like that. I made a lot of friends. So again, everything was going well. So we had childhood friends from Kentucky that my mom and dad and their mom and dad were like the best friends. We spent holidays together. They had 3 kids and we all grew up together. So their eldest, I think he was oldest. Well, their oldest son, I'll say that, wanted to move to Florida. So my mom and dad brought him down, let him stay with us. My dad got him a job, and things were going well. And then one Halloween night, I went trick-or-treating. I trick-or-treated until I was an adult, until I got my own place. I'm a gum chewer. I have always been a gum chewer. So I would go trick-or-treating just so I could get gum. It helps when you're a teenage girl and you can go out and, be like, "Oh, I want gum." And then they would just give me gum. But, lost my train of thought with that. Now, see, that happens when you get older. Complete difference from when you're younger to older. Yeah, so I was out trick-or-treating and then I came back, home from trick-or-treating, and the only people home were my mom and dad. And so I was like, "Well, where is everyone?" And of course my little brother was there too. And I was like, "Well, where is everyone?" I don't know why I was shocked, because my older brother was rarely home. But they were like, oh, they're all down at your cousin's, because my cousin and her husband also lived in the condo complex that we worked in, or that we lived in. I say worked because my dad was the head maintenance man, and I became like the babysitter there, so I had tons of money as a teenager. And then that's when I started smoking. That's my one regret in life. But then I ended up quitting later with the help of gum, which was no issue for me because I am a gum chewer. But 15 years, I think it's been 15 plus years since I've smoked. I still have to chew gum. I mean, there is no I chew it because I enjoy it. I have to chew gum. So I sympathize with all of you out there who are trying to quit or who have quit. I know how hard it is. But hang in there. You can do it. If it takes chewing gum, chew gum. Do whatever it takes to not smoke. So anyways, my dad said, oh, they're down at your cousin's house. So I was allowed to go. So I walked down to my cousin's house. And when I walked in, they were all sitting at the table. I can't remember if they were just chatting or playing a game or whatever. But, and I wasn't there long. And then my older brother got extremely intoxicated that night and needed to leave. So my brother's girlfriend, who happened to be my best friend, said, well, I will walk him home. And our childhood friend said, oh, I'll go with you. So they get up and they leave. And I don't know what had made me walk outside, but when I go out there, our childhood friend had jumped my brother. And I guess a little backstory to this is my dad was like, we weren't allowed to start fights growing up, but we were not allowed to leave a fight unfinished. Like if someone started a fight with us, we had to fight or we had to face my dad. Being a girl, I don't know, I guess because it's girl, I don't know, but I never had many of those encounters. I mean, I had a few, but nothing like my brother. My brother had a lot of them, and he's never lost a fight, ever. And even though he's never lost a fight, like anytime I've ever seen him fight, I've always had to throw in a few punches, a few kicks, or whatever. I mean, it's my brother. So I go outside, and our childhood friend is on my brother, hitting him, and so I'm kicking him and I'm punching him and whatever I need to do to get him off my brother. And then I think these are foggy memories. I think my brother's girlfriend ran in to get my cousin and her husband. So only my cousin's husband came out, and he pulled our childhood friend off my brother. And of course, that's like the last thing that I can remember. There's like a gap, and I think probably because my brother was beaten up. I think I might have walked home with him, and then I ran back to my cousin's house. And so when I got back to my cousin's house, somehow I found out, and I don't know how, that our childhood friend had stabbed my cousin's husband. And so I was like yelling his name, getting no response. So I ran in and I told my cousin, I'm like, someone told me that, our childhood friend has stabbed your husband. So of course she starts freaking out. She runs out with me. We're yelling his name, looking everywhere. And finally the neighbor's husband comes out, and he was like, if you're looking for your husband, he's in our condo. We've called 911. My wife's a nurse. Your husband is not doing well. He had been stabbed multiple times, and his guts were hanging out externally. So needless to say, he almost died. He was in critical care for a long time, but he did make it, luckily. So time has passed, and now, we're friends with our childhood friend again. I distance. I'm the only one here in Florida. All the rest of my family has moved on. My parents ended up getting divorced. My dad moved back up to Kentucky, who now lives in Ohio. My mom stayed here, but has since passed. My grandparents stayed here, who has since passed. And I'll get into those stories. Well, my mom's story later. My grandparents just died naturally. So that's it. So from perfect little childhood to moving to Florida, and that's my first traumatic event. Luckily, God made me a mentally strong individual, because once I tell you my stories, you'll be like, wow, how does this girl still functioning? But I'm also stubborn. Failure's not an option for me. There's so many, I'm just a fighter. So that's my story. I'll continue the story, but like like it. If you have any questions, just let me know and I'll address them in my next video. Thanks. Bye.